Hey guys, this is Tyler from Cool Moto. We're here with a 2009 R1 that actually is it's a good friend of mine's motorcycle, and so I've had a lot of time with it, and I'm going to go over some of the things that he's done to it to kind of separate it from a stock bike and what you can do to kind of up the ante and make your bike better if you still have your R1 stock. Some of the performance upgrades for people who like to go track days and performance ride on the street. So let's take a look. One of the first things that you're going to want to do if you're going to take your bike to the track or really ride it quicker, you're probably going to want to do the suspension. Whether it's putting internals, like on this bike you can see the fork caps there, they say Ohlins on them, but he still has the stock forks. As you can see, there's a little Ohlins sticker there that means Ohlins technology inside, it says. He had these valved and sprung with fork internals while keeping the stock forks. Now, the really impressive thing is these Ohlins internals for stock forks, you can get them for a range of different bikes, and they perform pretty much as well as a complete Ohlins fork does. And actually, in AMA Pro Racing in the US, in Superbike class, Josh Hayes, for example, on his Yamaha R1, they use the stock fork legs and they do internals. So you're able to go incredibly fast with stock fork tubes and just having the right internals and the right valving and the right spring rates set up for you and the way you ride. And obviously your track or where you ride has an impact on that as well. He's got this sprung pretty tight. It's set up for kind of like a 200-pound guy to ride quickly. So on the street it is a little bit harsh, but when you get it working, it really comes into its own. One of the other things that he's done is he has stainless braided lines, brake lines here. You can kind of see right there. There's a little bit of it coming down to the caliper. He has stock calipers. GMD CompiTrack, that's where he had some of the suspension work done. So now, talking about suspension, we'll move around to the rear. Now, obviously this is not a stock shock. This is a Ohlins TTX, fully adjustable. This knob right here is actually an adjustable preload setting that you can just turn the preload. It's that easy. I won't get into explaining what you'd want to do that for, but it makes it really nice. You don't have to have tools at all. If you're going to have a passenger also, or extra weight or whatever, you can just easily turn that in and out, or vice versa. The adjusters for the fork dampener settings are right there too, easily accessible. Now, the rear shock on this bike, the reason you'd want to upgrade it, again, at higher speeds and racetrack riding, the bike becomes so much more stable. It's hard to put into words how much more composed the entire motorcycle becomes when you do suspension work to it. When you have a suspension that's really working properly, it just takes your confidence through the roof. You can really ride faster, easier, with less effort, and everything just seems easier. Now on to the next adjustable Woodcraft rear sets. So not only do they have different settings, you can raise and lower them in the frame tabs, they also have an adjuster on the peg. There's different holes that you can set your peg into, so you can move forward, back, up, down. So you got a lot of different adjustments. You can really make it comfortable for you. It makes a huge difference to be comfortable on the bike when you're really working it hard. Makes things easier again. And also the shift lever has an adjustable setting as well. You can see some of the screws there to raise and lower it on the peg and also on the connection to the gear shift. This exhaust is aftermarket. This short exhaust like this really does make the bike louder, so sometimes you got to be careful about noise regulations if you're going to the racetrack too, with the pipe being too loud. This thing is quite loud, but luckily they let it slide. It just makes it. Also, if you're wondering what these are on the swing arm right here, these are swing arm spool for a stand. You slide in a rear stand and pop up the rear wheel easily for wheel changes or chain adjustments or whatever. There's also a few things that you'd probably want to do for the racetrack. This right here is a frame slider made by Harris Racing. It's real hard plastic. I mean, this thing is totally solid. Crash bobbin, some people call them. This bike had a little tip over at like 5-10 miles an hour. You can see the upper frame slider has some scratches on it mounted up inside there. These are real solid. They help take the impact away and any scratches that might happen to the engine. You know, and all you have to do is replace a cheap little crash bobbin instead of replacing an engine case cover, which is several times more expensive. Another modification that's been done, this seat right here. It's not my favorite seat, to be honest, but it is made by Corbin. They make nice stuff. On this bike, I don't particularly like it, but it's a personal preference. And that's pretty much going to tie up the differences on this R1 and what kind of set it apart from a stock bike. So if you have any questions, feel free to comment or send a message, and thanks for watching.